If you look at the physical world, nature absolutely despises a void. I mean, consider a depressurized cabin on an aircraft.
Right. Yeah.
In the event of a sudden breach, the outside air doesn't just, drift in. It violently, forcefully rushes to fill that empty space.
It's an immediate physical reaction.
Exactly. And today, on our deep dive, we are exploring an excerpt from a text called The Urgent Panacea by Sri Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar. Our mission is to intellectually unpack a rather bold, urgent philosophical proposition regarding society's current ideological state.
Sarkar actually posits a fascinating psychological parallel to your physical analogy there. He argues that humanity is currently sitting in a massive, dangerous void, an ideological vacuum, if you will.
A dangerous void.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The underlying premise is that the human mind, both collectively and individually, fundamentally requires a framework to make sense of the world. It simply cannot remain empty.
Well, the text states this quite explicitly. To quote Sarkar directly, it is a law of nature that something will fill a vacuum once it has been created.
Yes, that's the core of it.
So the argument here is that if people lack a constructive grounding ideology, they don't simply remain in a state of neutral suspension. They inevitably crave a framework.
Absolutely. And the void attracts whatever ideas happen to be closest at hand. According to the text, an ideological vacuum is highly unstable.
It creates a vulnerability.
Very much so. When a society loses its guiding principles, Sarkar suggests that without a robust, unifying framework, the human psyche reflexively latches onto the nearest available structure, really just to restore its cognitive equilibrium.
Which brings us to what exactly is waiting to rush in. Sarkar warns of what he calls defective philosophies, describing these forces as theories that are dogma-centered, matter-centered, or self-centered.
Yes, those are the immediate dangers he identifies.
And he contrasts these with his proposed solution, a God-centered philosophy known as PROUT, progressive utilization theory. The text describes this as the only panacea for this crisis.
It's a very bold claim.
It is, and I have to challenge this premise impartially. Calling any single philosophy the only panacea sounds dangerously close to the exact type of rigid dogma Sarkar is warning against, doesn't it?
I suppose it does sound that way at first glance.
So how does PROUT, progressive utilization theory, avoid becoming just another doctrine rushing into the void, and what does it actually entail?
Well, that is the critical question to ask. To understand Sarkar's argument, we have to look at the mechanics of what he means by progressive utilization. It is not merely a spiritual platitude.
Right.
The theory argues for the maximum utilization and rational distribution of all physical, mental, and spiritual resources for the benefit of everyone. Sarkar asserts that matter-centered philosophies fail because they are inherently fragmented.
Meaning they divide us rather than unite us.
Exactly. Think of building a civilization on shifting sand rather than solid bedrock. Purely materialistic or self-centered dogmas divide society into competing factions driven by endless consumption and ego.
So the implication is that a God-centered philosophy in this context provides the solid bedrock. It offers a holistic approach that connects the individual to a universal whole.
Yes, whereas the fragmented, self-serving dogmas lead to systemic collapse.
Sarkar actually warns that if this vacuum isn't filled constructively, a great catastrophe will take place.
The author firmly believes that this fragmentation is the root of impending societal disaster. When an entire society's ideological void is filled by selfish dogmas, the sociological and spiritual ramifications are profoundly destructive.
It's quite bleak.
It is. The theory of progressive utilization aims to counteract that by orienting societal progress toward a unified collective welfare rather than isolated material accumulation.
Well, because of that looming catastrophe, the text shifts quite dramatically at the end. Moving from abstract philosophy to a pressing mandate, I must emphasize the bold emotion and sheer gravity in Sarkar's final words.
The tone completely changes.
It really does. He writes, "Time will not wait for our convenience or feasibility. This moment is the most opportune moment. There is no need to look at the calendar. Do not wait for tomorrow."
That abrupt shift in tone transforms the text from a theoretical treatise into a real-world imperative.
Absolutely.
It conveys the author's belief that the vacuum is actively drawing things in right now and that the window to establish a constructive framework is closing rapidly.
It's a striking call to action. And, if we entertain Sarkar's premise that human minds abhor an ideological vacuum, it leaves you, the listener, with a deeply modern question to reflect upon.
A very relevant one.
Indeed. To what extent are the algorithms powering your digital feeds actively engineering those very vacuums, keeping you perpetually unmoored, just so they can swiftly fill the empty spaces in your worldview with their own highly curated, self-serving dogmas?